In the glistening halls of the Zixlarian palace, whose walls pulsed with the bioluminescent glow of intelligent crystals, the alien princess sits in silence, her world darker than the darkness of space itself. Her people revered her as a living goddess, yet not one dared look at her pain, not until she was confronted with the human scientist who had arrived on their world. Dr. Lucas Thorne was not an adventurer. A xenobiologist and neural interface engineer, he liked the quiet hum of his lab over the chaos of interstellar politics. But when the Galactic Union summoned him to the Zixlarian homeworld of Kelvaris, he couldn't refuse. The Zixlarian, a race of bioluminescent beings with crystalline exoskeletons, rarely allowed outsiders into their domain, and their request was unprecedented. They needed a human expert to assist their blind princess, Velithra. Blind? Lucas had asked during the briefing, his brow furrowed. I thought the Zixlarian physiology was flawless. It is, the envoy replied. Except for her. She's the only one in their history born with such a defect. They consider it a divine mystery. Divine mystery or not, Lucas found himself soon aboard a Union transport ship hurtling toward Kelvaris. Files on Velithra painted an isolated, lonely figure, trapped within a gilded cage of cultural reverence. The Zixlarian regarded her blindness as some sort of holy anomaly, and in their misplaced devotion, left her utterly alone. He had entered the throne room into a cathedral of light, beams of energy refracting through crystalline columns. Velithra sits upon a floating dais, her form elegantly otherworldly. Her translucent exoskeleton shines faintly, but her opaque, unseeing eyes track fixedly forward. You are the human? She asked, her voice melodic yet tinged with weariness. Lucas stepped forward, bowing slightly. Dr. Lucas Thorne. I've been asked to help. Her lips curved into a faint smile. Help? They sent you to fix me, haven't they? Not fix, Lucas replied gently. Perhaps. Understand. Velithra tilted her head, intrigued by his response. For the first time, someone spoke to her not as a broken relic or a divine enigma, but as a person. Over weeks, Lucas and Velithra formed an unlikely bond. She revealed the crushing isolation of her life, confined to the palace while her people revered her from a distance. Lucas, in turn, shared tales of Earth, describing sunsets, forests, and the laughter of children, concepts foreign to Velithra but which she longed to grasp. Lucas' scientific mind marveled at her resilience. Zixlarian biology was a masterpiece of evolution, but Velithra's blindness had forced her to develop other extraordinary abilities. Her echolocation was so advanced that she could see the entire palace in her mind, yet it did little to alleviate her loneliness. One evening, as they sat in the palace gardens, Velithra asked, "Do you think I'm a burden to my people?" Lucas shook his head. I think they're afraid to understand you. Reverence can be a cage, too. Her expression softened. You're the only one who's ever spoken to me like this. Like I am normal. Because you are, Lucas said firmly. You just need the tools to show them. With a newfound sense of purpose, Lucas started designing a neural interface that would connect Velithra's perception with external sensory data. The device, which he called the synesthesia array, would translate light and color into tactile and auditory signals her brain could interpret. As he worked, palace officials grew uneasy. Why meddle with what is sacred? They questioned. Lucas ignored them, knowing Velithra's liberation depended on challenging their dogma. The first test was a moment of awe. Activating the synesthesia array, Velithra felt colors for the first time in the palace gardens. Her hands shook as she followed the vibrations of a crimson flower, and tears streamed down her face. This is what they see? She whispered. Lucas smiled. It's only the beginning. The change in Velithra created a shockwave within the society of Zixlaria. She now spoke to her people, full of conviction and emotion, having gained new perspectives through the synesthesia array to experience their world in ways they never imagined before. Her findings bridged their rigid traditions with her new perception. However, not everyone saw it that way. The high priest, being an ardent traditionalist, labeled Lucas as the corrupter of their sacred princess. "You have violated her chastity with your mortal contraption," he thundered at an open gathering. Velithra stood up, commanding the room with her very being. "No," she declared. "He has given me liberty. And with it, I will guide our people to a new age." And so she crossed the Rubicon. Moved by her fearlessness and eloquence, the people of the world came to see her as a leader rather than as an unapproachable god. When Lucas was done, he made ready to leave Calvaris. Velithra was waiting for him at the palace gates, her synesthesia array glowing softly. "Must you go?" she asked, her voice heavy with regret. "My place is out there," Lucas said, waving his hand toward the stars. "But your journey is just beginning." She nodded, holding out a small crystal pendant. "Then take this. A piece of Calvaris, so you'll always remember." Lucas accepted the gift, a strange weakness in his chest that he hadn't felt in ages. "Goodbye, Velithra. Give them wisdom." As his ship took off, Lucas gazed out at the palace now dwindling into the distance, a beacon of light in the darkness. He knew he had done more than help Velithra, he had helped an entire world. Years passed, and the name of Velithra became synonymous with progress and unity. It was under her guidance that the Zixlarians entered a golden age of innovation and cooperation. And on a quiet research station orbiting a distant star, Lucas Thorne would often glance at the crystal pendant on his desk, smile, and think about a blind princess who had taught an entire galaxy to see.